stories of Saladita in Mexico, surfing, fires. It's gonna be interesting. By Dick Bird, my dad, Bevan Bird here. Okay, here you go.
Hello. Well, a bunch of friends and me were camping in Saladita at not at the restaurant which is now a going concern, which is owned by Jesus Valencia, but by his brother, Paco. And he owned a big circular restaurant with thatched roof, a huge building. Just a roof, on stilts, thatched roof in the form of a circle. And it was a restaurant, but it was no longer functioning. I don't know why, but anyway, he'd given up on it. And so a bunch of friends and I, we were camped in there. And one night, maybe the first night we were there was a big fire inland in the bush. And it came sweeping down towards the beach, heading straight towards us. And we all got worried. In fact, we all piled the goods into my truck and moved out. And we had to drive through the fire to get out. But we made it all right and camped somewhere else. But I was going to tell you, Bevan, how I first found Saladita. Mm-hmm. Saladita means the little salad or the little salt creek. That's what it is. Salada means salty. And there's a creek that runs down there into the sea. Well, really a river. And that is a very salty little river, La Saladita. And that is near the town of Los Llanos, Guerrero, which in turn is near the bigger town of La Unión, Guerrero, which is quite far in the north, the Guerrero, near the state border with Michoacán. If you've got a map, you could look it up. Mm-hmm. If you're driving down the west coast, and you drive down the coast of Michoacán, through a lot of generally uninhabited country, you finally get to a big city called Lázaro Cárdenas, which is on the border between Michoacán and Guerrero. And then a little bit further south, there's another major town called La Unión. And beyond that, a few kilometers, you get to this little village, Los Llanos, Los L-O-S, Llanos, L-L-A-N-O-S. Mm-hmm. And that, from Los Llanos, you take this little dirt road down to the beach where La Saladita is.
So it's in the area of Zihuatanejo or Ixtapa, right?
Yeah, it's north of Zihuatanejo, probably about 35, 40 kilometers. Okay. But well worth the trip.
Mm-hmm. So then
I'll
how
tell
did
you how
you
I
find
first
it?
found it. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I was... I was by myself.
Oh, but also, why is it a good place, right? Well, it's a great place to go surfing, especially if you're just starting. That's where I learned to surf in 2000.
Yeah, it is. It's like a surf machine. It just never stops. It just keeps rolling in, but nothing unpredictable about the surf. It's just regular, finely formed, unthreatening surf. It just rises and falls and gives you a hell of a good ride. But anyway, how did I find it? I was based in Zihuatanejo, which is a major resort town. And north of Zihuatanejo, about 10 kilometers, there's a place called Playa Linda, which is where there's a very good surf wave. And that, again, is at the mouth of a river. Name of the river? Don't remember. Okay. But there's a village there, and it runs through that village, which is, how do you say a district, neighborhood in Spanish? Barrio. Yeah, Barrio Nuevo. Barrio Nuevo and Barrio Viejo, which is further up the coast. That's where the river runs out into the sea. And it's quite a big river. And so it forms this point. What I mean by point is that the sediment of the river builds up on the bed of the sea. It builds up a higher level so that you get this almost like a ramp going out to sea, and that's what breaks the surf further out. maybe 500 yards offshore. You get a surf break, and then it'll roll in steadily, and that's just what you want for a long, long surfing ride. So the name of the beach, Playa Linda, the pretty beach, there used to be, at the time that I discovered it, there was a trailer park there in the coconut palms, which are all uninhabited. All the coconut area around there is abandoned, gone back to nature. And behind that, up behind the beach, is a swampy area, which you want to stay out of because it's full of mosquitoes. So first of all, going from inland, you've got the swamp, acres and acres of it, and then it rises, and you've got the coconut plantation running along the beach, uninhabited, and then there's a trailer park in the coconut plantation. It's no longer there, but it was there for years, and that trailer park was called Los Buzos, the divers. And that's where I used to camp, in that trailer park. The reason I camped in a trailer park is that that area is a very well-known thieves' paradise. Everyone who camped there in coconut palms always told me they always got robbed. Not violently, but they just got robbed in the middle of the night.
So that's why you went in the trailer park.
So that's
instead.
why I went in the trailer park, you know, where it was a bit of civilization. There was a guy living there, and, you know, he had guard dogs and a fence and everything, and it was security. So I camped at this trailer park, and then I would kayak out quite a long way, probably about 1,000 yards, out to sea to where the big break, the surf break is. It's really big water there, really huge waves. They rear up 10 or 15 feet high, and then you can ride them all the way into the beach on the diagonal, and you can just surf like crazy on those waves. They're beautiful waves.
So this is Playa Linda.
Playa Linda, yeah. And you can still go to Playa Linda today, but there's no trailer park. There's no facilities there. The only kind of tourist facility is at the beginning of the beach of Playa Linda. There's the road divides, and there's a sort of tourist, I don't know, company that runs boat trips out to the island. There's an island offshore, and they take tourists out there in a boat. But if you've got a kayak, of course, you just paddle over there. It's only about a mile. So anyway, I was out there surfing my ass off one day, and I'd had enough, so I'm paddling back to the trailer park, and that is considerably farther south of the actual break, the actual point of the break of the surf. So I was coming in, and on the beach, it was Semana Santa, Holy Week, which is the Easter week, and that's a major holiday in Mexico.
Yeah.
Everybody goes on holiday. All the families go down to the beach, and they pig out, and they freak out, and everyone has a roaring good time on the beach. So the trailer park was jammed with people, and I came surfing in, because of course there's a little surf break right there. And as I came sweeping in, a wave tipped me over. But I was in my little Topolino boat, a little yellow kayak, which is very easy to roll. And so I rolled over, and with one circular motion, I rolled over and rolled up again in the same wave.
Yeah, so you're still riding the wave in.
Still riding the same wave that knocked me over, yeah. And there was a guy on the beach, I say a guy, I mean about 35, 40-year-old Mexican guy, who yelled, "Fucking magic!"
All right.
I thought, wow, he speaks English. And I continued to ride into the beach, and he came down and helped, drag the boat up. And I got out and started talking to him. And he was a very voluble guy. He was a bit like you, Bevan. He was full of projects and speeches and desires, and he was bubbling over with enthusiasm. And it turns out, in fact, that he's in the same line of business as you are.
Oh, a broker.
Yeah,
Connector.
He's some sort of broker or educator. consciousness raiser.
Oh, good.
Something of that sort. Because I asked him what he did for a living, and he said he talked to businessmen.
Yeah.
I said, "What do you mean you talk
And
to
that's what I do
businessmen?"
too.
He said, "Well, I
Or women.
I have women. I have meetings, you know, and they pay me to talk to them." I thought, "Well, that sounds weird."
Well, that sounds like a consultant.
Yeah, that's something like that. Anyway, his name is Sealtiel Alatriste, and he's also the author of some books.
Oh, yeah.
So he and I got chatting, and we had lunch, and over lunch he said to me, "Have you ever been to Saladita?" I said, "No, what's there?" And he said, "Tremendous surfing." He says, "Better surfing than here." I said, "Better than here? It couldn't be better than here." And he said, "Oh,
It
yeah.
is.
Where do you surf here?" And I showed him. I took him out on the beach and pointed, you know, about a mile north to where the break was. And he says, "Oh, but that's so far away." I said, "Yeah, but it's terrific surf. It's huge and it's mellow, big and mellow, just what you want. Big, powerful wave that doesn't try to kill you."
Yeah.
And he said, "Yeah, well, at Saladita, it's a lot closer into shore." And he said, "I'll tell you what, I'm going there this afternoon. You're welcome to come with me. I'll take you along." So I said, "Yeah, okay." So I loaded my kayak onto his car, and he had his wife and kids with him, a couple of kids, young kids. And we drove from Playa Linda out to the highway, and then north, about 35 kilometers, to this little town of Los Llanos, and then left the highway and went across the bush mainly until we came to this little dirt road that took us down to La Saladita. And there I found a big restaurant and lots of people, because being Holy Week, it was terrifically crowded. A lot of people were staying there. They had cabins there. But mainly they had just a sort of big covered area where you could sling a hammock under the roof for the shade and eat in a restaurant. And so they had a big long table out in the courtyard, and everyone was eating, pigging out. So Sealtiel said, "Yeah, come on, sit down here, we'll have a meal." I said, "We just had a meal." And he said, "Let's have another one."
Yeah, Semana Santa is a big party.
Oh, it's
and there's so many people on the beach.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were hordes of people, kids screaming, yelling, and everyone having a good time. And so he introduced me to the owner of the place, called Jesus Valencia, who's an old man. Well, he's not as old as me, but he seemed old to me then at the time. I was perhaps, 55, and he was probably about 60. And he was running this little place, and running it very, very happily, and making money and everything, and lots of people went there, and it was very famous. And I said, "Well, where's this surf?" Because on the beach, there was just the regular surf break, you know, just the breaking surf that just smashes on the beach, and that's not where you want to surf, because all you do is get your neck broken on the beach.
Yeah.
And Sealtiel, "Come over here on a bit of high land," and he pointed out about 500 meters out, you could see a line of white. And he said, "That's where the break is. That's the point. That's where the Saladita River finally comes to an end." You know, the Saladita River, which it wasn't really a river at that time of year, it was dried up, just a trickle. But you could see the river bed heading out to sea, and it headed out to that point where the surf was breaking. And I said, "Well, it looks interesting. I think I'll go out there in a kayak and check it out." And he said, "Yeah, you do that, and I'm going to come out there with my surfboard," because he was a surfer.
Who?
Sealtiel.
Oh, right.
He was a board surfer. So he swam and I kayaked, and we got out to the point, and there were a number of people waiting there, but they didn't wait long because the waves came about every minute. And every wave was surfable. Every single wave that came in was a good wave, a nice, smooth, big, but well-behaved, generous wave. Very, very good surfing.
Like you said, it's like a machine.
Yeah, like a machine. Yeah, just like surf to order.
Mm-hmm.
And so I surfed away merrily, and as the LTL came out, and he got up on his board and he did a few tricks, and we all had a very happy time. And then we got tired and paddled back to the beach, where there was a little bit of a surf break on the beach, but nothing interesting, just, crash, bang. And I said, yeah, this looks like a good place. I think I'll come and camp here. Mm-hmm. He said, oh, yeah, you can't go wrong here. That surf runs every day and night, all the time, never stops.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, not only that, but north of here, there's an even better place called La Punta Secreta, the secret point. I said, oh, that sounds interesting. And he says, yeah, it's kind of like Saladita, but it's kind of remote. And he said, I'll tell you how to get there some other time. I'll tell you how to get there some other time.
Mm-hmm.
And most of you will get lost trying to find it.
Mm. Oh, he told you he would tell you how to get there another time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we piled in his car and went back to the trailer park at Playa Linda.
Mm-hmm.
And carried on with our respective holidays.
So this is how you found Saladita?
That's how I first found it, yeah.
And which year?
Oh, probably about 1992.
All right.
Or maybe 93. I really don't know. 93, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you've been back there with Graham?
Yeah, and I've been back there with you, and I've been back there with Will.
Yeah.
And I've been back there with all my people on Sopilotes del Norte.
All right.
We just made it one of our regular stops on the way down.
Yeah.
Because it's such a congenial place. You've got this lovely restaurant. They have really good food. It's really cheap. And, it's like a little farm. They got chickens running around. No cows. But there's burros running wild. You remember those burros? You rode one.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's lots of coconuts. It's a good place.
Totally.
Yeah. It's a little dirty. At least it was last time I went. They didn't really have any septic field.
A lot of Mexico, or old Mexico, is like that.
Yeah, it's dirty because they don't really have any sewage facilities. They got a toilet, but then what happens to it?
Nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
In Saladita, they have something to deal with them. But it's still smelly, though.
Oh, yeah, Saladita's a dirty place, yeah.
Yeah. Big population.
Yeah. Yeah. The last time I went there was roadworks, construction on the main street, which goes down to the beach, from the plaza down to the beach, that
you
one
mean
street.
Sayulita?
In Sayulita, yeah.
Okay.
And so it was all dug up, and I don't know what they were doing. And I went down to the beach, and I noticed that where the construction ended, where the street ended, where the buildings ended and the beach started, there was a big pool of black sludge. And I realized that what they're doing is digging up the sewers.
Ah.
So anyway, I went for a little swim. I was tired. I'd been driving all day, and I went and lay down on the beach and had a sleep. And I was woken up about half an hour later by a guy in English saying, "Hey, you better wake up."
Oh.
And it was this gringo, well, actually an Englishman, and he said, "You're about to get flooded by the sewage."
Yeah, you have
this
to move.
This big black flood was oozing down the beach, and it was pretty close to where I was lying. I would have been bathed in black shit.
Yeah.
So I said, "Thank you very much," and got up, and he talked to me, and it turns out he was a Jehovah's Witness.
Yeah, they're very friendly people. They'll talk to everyone.
Yeah, oh yeah. And he said he was there for a convention, a world convention of Jehovah's Witnesses.
Oh, yeah.
In Mexico. He didn't speak any Spanish, but he was having a good time. Mm. He told me something interesting about Jehovah's Witnesses.
Well, he did good to all people. He did good to you there, because that's what you needed, just to be woken up.
Oh, yeah. he told me that in the history of Jehovah's Witnesses in Germany, at the time when Hitler started to round up the Jews and put them in concentration camps, the Jehovah's Witnesses volunteered to go with them into the camps, because they said, we are Jehovah's Witnesses and the Jews are Jehovah's people, so we want to witness what's happening. So they went in there. They went into Auschwitz and Dachau and Belsen and Buchenwald and all those horrible concentration camps. They went voluntarily.
Yeah. Wow.
That was pretty impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I first, no, not the first time I went to Saladita. That was one time.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I had fun in Saladita. I went there this year. I went to check out the babes, and then the next day I went back and surfed, and then I met a couple of them from New York, and then the next day we went to La Lancha or something. I think it was La Lancha. It's nearby, by Punta de Mita.
Oh yeah.
And we went surfing there, and it's a white sand beach, and it's great. It's a little bit chillier, like the water's cooler because the ocean rushes
open.
by, right? Instead of being in a bay. Saladita is warmer, but then this is a lot cleaner too. It's really nice.
Yeah. There's a little bit of surf at Saladita, but it's really kindergarten stuff. It's not worth going, in my opinion. But when I went down there in '96 with Graham, my kayaking friend, he'd been reading magazine articles, and he says, first stop Saladita. And I said, what for? And he said, surf. I said, what surf? And he said, look. He showed me this magazine.
Yeah.
And it was bragging about the surf at Saladita. And I said, look, I've been there. I don't remember any surf. There's a few waves, but nothing to rave about. Anyway, we went there, and it was just as I remembered it, just little pissy little waves. Breaking just, more or less breaking on the beach. But there was an outfit there that had kayaks for rent, and they had an instructor would take out these kayaks and show them how to surf in this piddling little surf.
Yeah.
But it was very dangerous because if you turned upside down, you'd bang your head on rocks. It was a very, very rocky bottom and very shallow water. So as soon as you're upside down, you'd bang your head. And I told Graham that. I said, I wouldn't surf there. You break your head and you won't even have any fun. But he was determined. He believed this magazine. And so he paddled out there and he foodled around for a while, and then he came back in. He says, you're right, it's not worth it. And I went for a swim with my spear gun and mask and snorkel. And I went from Saladita out to the southwest. There's a peninsula. It's in a bay, and there's two arms to the bay. So the southern arm of the bay projects out to the west. And there's some big rocks sticking out of the water there. And I thought, I bet there's some good fishing around there. So I paddled my kayak over there, and I put it on the beach, and then I swam. And in a little while after swimming, I felt a sudden shock on my right shoulder, like an electric shock. And I realized I'd been hit by a jellyfish, a big one, probably like a Portuguese man-o'-war. But I whipped around the water and I couldn't see anything. But it was certainly very, very painful. And so I kept swimming with my spear gun cocked and ready. And I felt this growing paralysis on my right side. My right arm started to not work anymore, and my right leg started to drag. And I started to realize, hey, this is getting serious. I'd better get out of here. So I swam to the beach, and I felt really weird. Then it attacked not only my body, it attacked my brain. And I was starting to feel quite dizzy and dopey. And while I was standing there swaying, a Mexican fisherman walked by on the beach, and he said, you've been hit by a jellyfish. And I said, yeah, that's right. How do you know? And he says, I can tell by the way you're standing, or the way you're almost falling down. He said, the only way you can get rid of that is to find a hot rock where the sun's beating on a rock, and press that part of your body against that hot rock and hold it there as long as you can stand it. And that'll take the pain away. It'll suck out the poison. So I went off down the beach.
You sweat it.
Yeah, you sweat it out, I guess. And so most of that beach was in shade, but there were a few beams of sunshine coming through the trees, and I found a place where the sun was hitting a big rock, which was, about 45 degrees from the horizontal. So I sat down and I put my right shoulder, back of my right shoulder, up against the hot part of the rock and pressed it there. Stayed there about 15-20 minutes. At the end of that time, I felt like a human being again.
All right.
And so I said, I think I'm going to pack up and get out of here.
All right.
It's not a healthy place. So I got back in the kayak and paddled back to where Graham was camping.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think if you empty a lot of sewage into the bay, it's not going to be a healthy place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've never really felt really at home in Saladita. There's a campground there called El Camarón.
It's a transient place, right? People come in from all over, usually for short periods of time.
Yeah.
You can meet people from all over the world there.
Yeah, that's right. It's sort of a crossroads, campers' crossroads. I usually stop there for one night when I'm on my way south, but I don't hang around. There's a good beach north of there, San Pancho, which is actually called San Francisco.
Oh.
But in Mexico, Francisco is always called Pancho.
Oh yeah, I visited there.
Yeah. And between the two, between Saladita and San Pancho, at the south end of San Pancho Beach, there's a big rocky headland which is occupied by a former house, a private house, which extends over about 10 acres of the top of this headland. And it's composed of many small buildings, sort of dormitories scattered here and there. They're all connected, but you can sort of walk from one to the other over the rocks. And it's very high above the beach, about 100 feet up in the air. And that's where I always camped. When I found it, it was an abandoned house. Obviously a very expensive place in its day, but it had been abandoned for about 10 or 20 years, and it was all falling to rack and ruin. There was no power line there anymore, no water, just the roofs and the buildings. So whenever I was there with Saladita del Norte, we would head there and camp up there. And down below you could surf on a little cove at the end of the big beach of San Pancho. There's a little cove where the beach ends at this rocky headland, and in there's some little, not long surf, you'd only surf for about 50 yards and then you hit the beach, but it's quite regular and quite smooth, but there's rocks all over the place, so it makes it interesting. You've got to steer fast. And so I would go there quite often.
There's another place, it's called Platanitos or Tortugas, because there's a turtle sanctuary, and it's platanitos, like little bananas, and it is north of Playa Chicala, so a bit more north of where you're talking about.
Oh yeah.
Near San Blas or something? Maybe not as north as San Blas.
No, not as far north as that. San Blas is a hell of a long way north.
Anyway, it's supposed to be a good, probably beginner place to surf. I haven't tried it yet, but that's what they say.
Yeah, a lot of people told me about a big wave at San Blas, a long, long wave, because San Blas is on the point of a bay, a big, big sheltered bay, but the surf from the open Pacific breaks at San Blas, and then this roller rolls in long, long way, about 1 kilometer or 2 kilometers to the beach in the bay. And people have told me if you can hit that wave where it breaks, you can get a hell of a long ride. And I've been there a couple of times and I never found it. All I found was lots of jejenes, which built,
Ah, yes.
and they just won't let you sleep at night.
Oh, yeah.
Jejenes,
Oh, around San Blas.
Yeah, in
This
San
is
Blas.
that's what Alan Hardman said with joydancer.com. He said he was up there, and so then when he found Playa Chicala, it was great. It's a little bit south.
Yeah.
See, because if you're too far north, that's what you get, those bugs. So
Yeah.
you got to go south enough, and Playa Chicala is south enough to get rid of those.
All right.
Yeah. So he ended up
yeah.
like moving in there.
Yeah, I only stayed at San Blas one night, the night I went there. And those jejenes just drove me mad.
Yeah.
I didn't have a mosquito net. Well, that doesn't stop them anyway.
That happened to me and Geraldine over here, like near your place.
Yeah.
You know that river? Or
Ashnola.
some kind of creek. Yeah, it goes up, and
Yeah.
then they have like tours and stuff up the hill there.
Right.
Yeah, we went up. We were along that river, and those things just like attack you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Down below they attack you. Where the delta is, the delta of that river,
Yeah.
before it runs into the Smilkameen, it branches out into a delta.
Yeah, we were up along that river, but near the
Yeah.
beginning of it.
Oh, yeah.
All right, well, that's it for this one.
Yeah, right.
Thanks for telling us how you found Saladita. Not Sayulita, Saladita.
Saladita. Saladita.
Yeah,
La
that's-
Saladita.
That's a great place
And
to go
in fact,
surfing.
they're online.
Absolutely.
I think it's lasaladita.com or something like that.
Yeah, you can definitely find them online. That's
Yeah.
a good place to go learn surfing. It's where I learned to surf from
You
scratch.
can't miss there. Doesn't matter if you don't know anything about surf.
Yeah,
The water is warm and
Yeah.
clean and clear.
and the waves
and-
are perfect.
Eh?
The waves are perfect.
The waves are just perfect. They just keep rolling in one after. If you miss one, you catch the next one. They're about every, 40 seconds or a minute. You don't have to wait long. And people there are very friendly. Because most of the people who go there are beginners. And they're all watching each other to pick up hints, Yeah, and there's some good-looking women go there. Oh, yeah.
All right.
And you can eat very well at that restaurant. And the guy to talk to, the young guy, is Cuauhtemoc. Cuauhtemoc Valencia. The old man's name is Jesus Valencia, and his son's name is Cuauhtemoc, and he more or less runs the surf operation. They rent surfboards. You don't have to take your own board. And they even sell some of their rental boards. We bought one for Bevan,
Yep.
$100.
Yep.
And, it's a great place.
Absolutely. Okay, well, we'll see you there.
See you in Saladita.